Boom, we are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is, of course, the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel, and I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be, and of course, however you may be listening. This is going to be the Iowa versus USC postgame show. Right off the bat, guys, this is kind of emblematic of the Iowa Hawkeye season. So close, but yet so far. Right there, if you look at the college football playoff ranking, obviously the committee views Iowa as a good football team. They like what they see. They look at the numbers. They look at the results. But in the end, they are not great. They are not a college football playoff team. And I know maybe it's a little bit closer than, you might think, and maybe the college football playoff is not necessarily the judgment of whether a season is successful or not. But I do think nowadays, considering the expansion, it obviously is something that should be strived for. I wouldn't say it's to the point of the NCAA tournament for college basketball, but or as attainable, but still. But if you just look at it from a smaller perspective, the games that Iowa has lost, they have all been there for the taking. And as an Iowa fan, you analyze it and you can't help but think to yourself, man, the difference between us being a top 15 caliber team is small, and it's right there, which is what makes it so gosh darn brutal to accept. It's very disappointing. No doubt about it, guys. This is a rough football season, not because Iowa is a terrible football team, but just how close they were to being a great team. And, it's too little too late now. I believe they are 6-4, losses to Oregon, Indiana, Iowa State, and now USC. It's just tough. To blow a 21 to, it was either 13 or 21 to 10. Let me get it pulled up here. 21 to 10. Not that that's the biggest margin in the world. It is, for a team like Iowa, it is not acceptable. No matter how you slice it, it is not acceptable. To score 0 points in the second half is not acceptable. I know USC is a ranked team, but this is the type of stuff, and these are the things or reasons why Kirk Ferentz in recent years has been critiqued, because Iowa has an inability to win the games that matter the most. Not that the other games don't matter, they do. Being 6-4 it's not for nothing. But these are the games that determine the quality of your season. And so often, Iowa has come up short in the last 5 years, and it's getting really tough to stomach. When I gave my game prediction, I went with, my heart, and I said that Iowa was going to be able to pull this one out. They were going to be able to rebound off the tough loss to Oregon. But I should have went with my logical brain. I knew, logically speaking, that Iowa had not proven an ability to beat ranked opponents. They have choked it away. They have not been able to make plays when it matters the most. And I should have, went with that in my game prediction. But, man, that second half, guys, was brutal. I mean, there's not really much more to discuss about it. Gronowski, he didn't play a terrible game, but it's the same old. It's an average to below average, mediocre passing attack. Yes, the run game is better. Yes, Kamari Moulton, played a decent game. And yes, Iowa got some push. But, in the end, when you play against teams like this, if you don't have other aspects to your offense, you're in trouble. If you cannot make it work when your top skill set doesn't work, unless your top skill set, you're able to dominate so heavily, unless you're able to do that where it doesn't matter, you have to have a second or third option in your tool bag. And Iowa, just hasn't had it. Tim Lester has not developed it yet. Gronowski, I think in the end, I was looking at Nate Stanley highlights from Iowa's game against USC back in the day, and Iowa just has not had a quarterback that could pass the football like a CJ Beathard or a Nate Stanley in a long time. And, Gronowski's not it. He is an average passing quarterback to below average. There were plays that he just absolutely missed. And that's not new. That is what we have seen all year long. All year long. There's a reason why Gronowski has only passed the football 15 to 20 times every single game, because it's just not there. And I said this in a previous game because it was pointed out to me that by one of these college football YouTube channels, that is the confidence that they have in him, or lack thereof, is 15 to 20 passes. No more. That's it. Go look at his game log. It is 15 to 20 passes a game. And I'm not necessarily against that. If Gronowski was more precise and a better pocket passing quarterback, it would honestly work fine. I mean, there was a play in the second half, a play action pass, where Caden Weejan was wide open and he threw it at his knees. Could Caden have maybe come down with it? Maybe. But that's a really tough pass coming out of a break. I don't care if you're open, you're backtracking to the pass. That's a tough catch to make. And the bottom line is, a good passing quarterback like what USC has puts that on the numbers. He delivers, he makes that pass, and it's done. So, lastly, Iowa's defense totally spurned out in the second half. I was concerned about that. I did say in my game preview, I said if USC was able to score over 25 points, they would win this game. And I was spot on. They scored 26. They won this game. I literally said whoever is able to score over 25 points will win this game. And I was right. Now, that's not the biggest prognostication in the world, as there's a decent amount of times where that proves to be true, but still, for Iowa's defense to give up 16 points is not terrible, but it's not what we've grown accustomed to. It's not sufficient. I don't want to be too hard on the Iowa defense, because they are really good. They're a great defense. Most of the time they're elite. The second half they weren't elite, but most of the time they are. It's a lot to ask of them. But still, calling balls and strikes here, obviously it wasn't good enough, But in the end, the biggest issue was Iowa's inability to score in the second half. That is just inexcusable. Quite frankly, it's embarrassing. And by the way, guys, USC's defense did not come into this game with astonishing numbers. Okay, they have athletes, they always do, but they don't statistically. They do not have a great defense. Illinois was able to put, I believe, 40 plus points on USC. Now they may have had some overtime points in that. I'm pulling it up here. No, it's 34-32, but still. So this is rough, guys. This is a rough loss. I'm just looking at the stats in the background, not trying to show you guys my hair, but this is a really rough loss, guys. Mark Gronowski, 12 of 19, 132 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT, terrible interception. Just, I mean, you know, just if you make that pass, you have to put it on the numbers. Like I don't dislike the decision, but if you're going to do that, you have to put it on the numbers. You have to fit it in a tight window, just like the USC quarterback did for the first touchdown in the second half. He went 23 of 32, 254 yards, 1 touchdown. Kamari Moulton had 90 yards, 6 yards a carry. Jazian Patterson, 37. DJ Vaname had 4 receptions for 59 yards. Not bad. Jacob Gill, 1 for 44. So that's it, guys. I mean, this year is Iowa had 320 yards compared to USC's 360. You know, it's pretty balanced. 183 rush yards to 137. Iowa did only give up 106 rush yards, but the yards that they gave up were explosive plays. You know, they gave up explosive plays. You know, and credit to USC for making those plays, but still, USC had 21 first downs. Iowa had 17. By the way, yes, the officials missed a massive face mask call, but it's hard for me as a high-level official myself to blame the refs too much, because in the end, there's still so many other plays. You know, one call rarely determines the outcome of the game. You know, the officials did not make Gronowski throw the ball in the dirt. USC was 5 of 10 on third down. You know, again, Iowa's defense, their inability to force takeaways. They did, force a fumble, but they didn't recover it. It went right to the USC player. So, all right, guys, what does this mean? Well, Iowa's 6-4. You know, they can still salvage this year. I would not be surprised if Iowa loses one more game to close out the year, just because of the emotional toll that these losses have taken. And this is rough. I've been saying this over and over and over, going back to the Indiana game. This was likely, or possibly, but now it is. It was possible, then it was likely, now it is, as going down as the season that could have been. It could have been a special season, and instead, this is going to be yet another Kirk Ferentz mediocre to average year, maybe slightly above average year, if we're being charitable. Which, again, you look around the nation, is not a terrible thing, but coaches tend to, kind of like Fran McCaffrey, they tend to be victims of their own success. And for Iowa and Kirk Ferentz, that's definitely true. Iowa desperately needs to develop a passing game. I am concerned that is, again, never going to happen, as the issue might be systemic, whatever that looks like, rather than, the offensive coordinator. Now, it is still possible it is the offensive coordinator, and Tim Lester just is not the best offensive coordinator when it comes to producing a passing attack. But I would lean towards that being a systemic problem, as you're unable to find an offensive coordinator that can develop a decent passing attack. Either way, Iowa desperately needs to generate a passing attack that is at the very least average and has the ability to produce something when their top pitch is not available. Right now, and for the past 2 years, that has not been the case. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for listening. Tough defeat. I know. There's not much more to be said. I feel for you, fellow Iowa fans out there. It's rough. Believe me, I know it is. Hang in there, guys. I'll keep you guys covered no matter what. I think, it's time to start, fully turning our attention to Iowa basketball. Obviously, paying attention to how Iowa football finishes. But at this point, a lot of broken dreams there. So there's Ben McCullum. All right, Hawk fans, see you guys next time. Last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow. In fact, your feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you, Hawk fans. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.